Hello and welcome back to the LAMDA log. It's been a minute. I apologize. I still have not really clicked into a good sleep schedule and figuring out I'm working out. We're getting there. Um, so I'm gonna do this like a whole week this today, basically. Um, so starting off, yeah, let me show you. Let me show you. This is what we're getting through. Not today, but well, not in this one video, but we're gonna do 2 days today. We're gonna do Monday, week 3, day 1, January the 26th, 2026. And we're also gonna do Tuesday, week 3, day 2, January 27th, 2026. All in one video. Because I didn't have a bunch going on Tuesday. So back to it. We had our warm up from 9:30 to 9:50. Yeah, then we went straight into voice to text, and we had a little bit of a reading that we talked about, and some of the things that came up in the reading. The reading was the rule of three, and like what is that called? A tricolon. Some people call it the rule of three, a trio, a triplet, a triumphant net. I don't know. It's just the rule of three. To repeat something three times, and that has a certain effect to it. Um, then we talked about Lenny Bruce, who is a stand-up comedian, and I should look him up. And then look out in a character perspective. They weren't, um, yeah, like sometimes when you repeat something, they weren't invested the first time, so they repeat it again to say to invest themselves in it. Um, and then sometimes it's like an echo for emphasis. Jacobean doesn't use the echo as much. We may be living, and also we're kind of living through a Jacobean time. Like times and stuff are all cyclical. And George was saying how, yeah, it feels like this is a semi-Jacobean time where we're pushing cultural things and we're trying to, figure out what we're doing, and we're in this transitional period. Uh, um, in nature, odds are more common than evens, so threes and fives feel more significant and appealing than evens. Really strong and important um, are are these two principles of repetition and of the rule of three. And then pay attention to the syllabic values of these words. So, like we looked at the two speeches from Julius Caesar, Brutus's and Antony's. And so Brutus starts, um, well, no, Antony says friends, Romans, countrymen. And it goes friends, Romans, countrymen, right? It's 1, 2, 3 syllables. It has that feeling to it. And then the countdown in get ready, get set, go. Three, two, da 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 da. Right? Um, yeah, and sometimes there's repetition in individual words that are repeated, sentences, phrases, right? Looking at Mark Antony's speech, next what we did is we looked at Mark Antony's speech and we discussed our feelings and impressions. Um, we mentioned Caroline Levitt as a master of rhetoric, who's so good at spinning things and using rhetorical devices in a advantageous way for her and her party. Very much a sophist, not interested always in objective truth, but in using rhetoric to win an argument. Interesting. Then one of the students got up and presented Brutus's speech, and we discussed it with new impressions. Then she went again, um, and really used "be patient to the last," which was the first line to grab our attention. And she taught preschool, and so getting a bunch of kids' attention is not unfamiliar to her. So then she held the vowel until it quieted. What was the line again? Be patient until the last. And then as it started to die down, which was an interesting thing. Um, and then the triad is kind of stopped. Oh, well, also this rule of three is different. Romans, countrymen, lovers. So it's not the really well executed Antony one, which is a little more truthful to the story and all that. Um, but then the student tried to sweep Romans, countrymen, and lovers, kind of to get everybody, but it didn't work as well. So then she tried to to do it to an individual section for each title, um, and then deliver it to one person. So like Romans, countrymen, lovers, or better yet, would be like Romans, lover, countrymen, lovers, and then she delivered it all to one person and Romans, countrymen, lovers, right? I think I prefer the second option, the so not the sweep. I think that's the weakest one. Um, delivering it all to one person is really poignant and specific, but I really like addressing each three because it allows you to paint it differently for each person. And then when um, when directing an individual, use gestures to bring the awareness, right? So like friends or Romans, countrymen, friends, bring it down. Romans, countrymen, friends, kind of sweep it in and funnel that focus. Land on an individual, not a group. Hear me for my cause and be silent that you may hear, right? So just some of the basics we're learning about, to land on an individual person, not just a general group, but that specific person. And then with that specific person, find them first and then deliver the line. Um, Commit to physicality. Don't be off balance. If you're like off balance, standing on one side, it makes you seem unsteady, and what you're saying unsteady as well. Um, when working the room, connect and then find the line. Like I just said, yeah, connect and then speak. Person. And so if I'm doing it, if I'm reading it blind, right? I look to my next person. Romans, locked in. Countrymen, lovers. That's the idea. And this is when I stood up and I started working on it. So if you're speaking to the audience, make sure the line is taut, right? Like fishing. So you want that taut line. You want to have them focused and pulling on their attention. It keeps that moment full. And then another student went up and he gave multiple images to a single person. Brace yourself because you don't want to know what's coming, right? That's why we brace ourselves, because we don't know what's coming. We're like, "Oh." So just relax in it, sink down. If you have antitheses, stay with the one person to stick the whole antithesis and to keep that idea. When practicing, don't try to bring it up to performance speed. It also lets um, the thoughts land much better. So a lot of the time we're like blah 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 because we're trying to do it the way it should be performed, but we're practicing. So get the structure and the skeleton better. You can speed it up later. I believe Bruce Lee always talked about doing things, practicing it slowly, because if you can do it slowly, you can do it fast. But if you can do it fast, doesn't necessarily mean you can do it slowly. Excuse me. Um, you can laser, but don't get small, right? Focus and lovers, but don't be like Romans, countrymen, lovers. I don't know. That wasn't a good example, but like, don't just get small. Don't just Bring it down here if you're talking to an entire group. You can be specific, but still have that intensity and the energy behind it. Don't just do the quadrant and like a clock, because then this person knows that they don't have to pay attention because it's not coming to them. Nothing better than a good scan. Oh, so at the beginning, before you begin your speech, I need a haircut. I want to cut off all my hair. Anyway, um, before you begin speaking, scan the group, and it doesn't have to be like really specific, but George always talks about it like you're like you are seeing if anybody's going to throw a shoe at you or throw a tomato or rotten cold slaw, which came up. Um, breathe with the images, move focus with the breaths. It's a call to arms. This is the most defining, important part of political speeches. We have natural rhythms as humans, and this speech is not aiming for that. This speech, at least, is not aiming for those natural rhythms. It's heightened. Then someone else stood up, and something George always says is we stand on the shoulders of those who stood before, went before. I think it says stood. Not good handwriting this Monday. Okay, you can take everyone in quickly with the scan. You don't have to like make a connection or a moment. It's just a scan. You look for danger and taking in the temperature of the room. A dramatic turn to your immediate right and left is really powerful because these people get neglected if you're in a circle a lot because you're talking out here. So, wow, but not like being off balance, just to laser in, focus. Um, if someone isn't feeling the attention, put something we did is if you're an audience member and you were doing it, and you felt like you were getting attention, we did this. We're like, hello. And if she didn't notice, needs to work on clocking it and being more aware. Um, it feels like she's holding us accountable to listen and pay attention, not necessarily in fear, but we need to feel the responsibility to listen. Then someone else went up and he was advised to, instead of like having his finger on the page and be like, because that really closes him down and it's harder to pay attention. Just keep your thumb where it need, this is music, but keep your thumb where you need it to be so you're on the right line. And then um, spending time with cheerleaders, George has learned that they always pitch down their cheers because it carries more, right? So pitch down to project more and to be more resonant. Next week, we'll move on to more onto the Antony speech. So our homework is to practice the Antony speech. Um, on your feet, practice it on your feet, and be judicious with the big sweeps and look for that antithesis. Also come in with two speech choices for next week. You can't work on the scene until you know the lines, so you want to be off book by reading week. And then next we had our thesis with Brittany, and we came in with two um 2 minutes of our thesis, and I struggled a little bit. I would say just been really in my head and worried about civil unrest and politics and things back in the United States after um, just everything happening in Minneapolis and all of the turmoil and misinformation and lies and all that. It just was really getting in my head, and so I really wanted to focus on my thesis idea, but I didn't come up with anything until I just did it, and I'll get to that when I get to myself. But it was partly why I didn't do all these recordings because it's been a lot. So I might have mentioned that on Monday's video, which was Friday's video, but alas. So we circled up, we checked in, saw how we were doing. We played a game um, where your heads are down and then you look up, and if you look at someone and they're looking at you, you're out. And we did it 3 times, um, and I did not win any of the rounds. And then we did a three-way. Um, we narrowed it down to the best person, and they won. Um, and then while watching, we were looking for what is clear and what is interesting. So the first person went, and I don't know if how much I want to describe about what people are doing, um, because it's kind of their personal things, but I'll do very vague kind of descriptions. The first person did a little scene with singing um, and some original text and some Shakespeare and some violin. It was cool. And the next person went and um, was playing a lot of different characters. It was kind of like a school scene, like making fun of uh, Shakespeare tropes and things, and bringing it really into the modern lens. Um, and then we were told if you finish what you've prepared, just keep going until you get stopped on your 2 minutes. Because you never know what will happen. It might be perfect. It might be gold. And then there's this other person who went next. They did like a clown dummy, and it was great. It was funny. I don't know how it could be a 20-minute thing, but it was great. Then another girl went, and it was in verse, and it was original, and it was fascinating, interesting themes. Then another one went, and this one seemed like the most concrete, like you're onto something. And it was a song, and the idea of like speaking up to power and things. It was cool, it was poignant. And then another person kind of was reenacting um, as like a couples therapist, and one of the person was very modern, and the other person was Shakespearean speech. And so showing that kind of juxtaposition. Then another went, and it was interesting. It was like a little phone call, and then spooky things were happening, and so it was kind of ghosty. And then another one went, which was like a full play about what it means to like follow instructions as an actor, and where does individualism fit in all of it, um, and how many people are trying to break your individualism. Then another one went, it was like a diva workshop, um, kind of teaching you how to be an actor, which was fun. And then another one was like a Shakespearean retelling, I think, of Jason and the Minotaur, Minotaur. I don't know how I pronounce things anymore, but cool, lots of good work. And then another one was just interesting phrases that were a little disconnected, and I don't know how it's going to go exactly, but interesting. And then I went, and mine was I just got up there and monologued for 2 minutes about my whole concept is, what does it mean to take the Lord's name in vain in action? So many people are so many people are self-proclaimed Christians and are acting very unchrist-like in the name of Christ, which I believe is against the third commandment, which is um, to not take the Lord's name in vain. For he who does will not be held guiltless. You know, and I also mentioned the first and second great commandments that Jesus says when asked, "What is the greatest commandment?" To love God with all thy mind and all thy heart and all thy soul. And then the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, and just kind of touching on the feelings. I basically just was caught up and cried. I was like, oh, I just am upset and offended as a Christian. And so, um, oh yeah, and something I liked from it was people enacting violence in the name of the Prince of Peace. Forgot that line. Glad I wrote it down. I need to hold on to that. Um, yeah, and then somebody else went and they did like Batman in verse, and then someone else went and talked about their own personal journey and their mother standing up for them. And it was cool. It was really cool just to see everybody's. And then we finished and um we all have an idea, we all have a seed, and we brought something to it. And then Brittany said she was going to take everything as an artistic choice. Um, and like if you're reading off of the paper, she's going to just assume that that's what you're going to do it like. She's not going to assume anything will be memorized, and so she might have questions about how that will work. And then it's like, well, it will be memorized when I finish it. It's like, okay, but I'm just going to take it at face value. And then we did our little speed dating thing again, and then just gave some notes. And we only had time for just a few. Um, oh, that looked like. Oh, shoot, there's a lot more. We had some general notes first before we did our speed dating. I was jumping ahead. I thought that was the end of the thing. I was like, I knew we did more. So number one is do the thing, don't talk about the thing. If you're talking about it, um, it should be a clear choice and you should know why. Active thesis is best. Act. Anecdotal is not active, needs action and intention. Watch it live, don't tell them about it. Two, it needs to be deeply connected to me. So don't let it be a piece of therapy though, but let it be connected. And um, it should be something that's deeply connected because you're just really interested in it, or there's a personal story or connection there. Number three is be mindful about writing questions to reveal your concept, right? Construct is better than just like a Q&A session. And whenever something feels convenient, um, question it, because question if it serves the story. Because usually if it's convenient, it's cheap or poor writing. Four, what is your genre or tone? Characters might experience things differently and they might be at different tones or genres, but like, what is the overall? Five, where are you? How can stagecraft help you establish place? Is it intimate, public, or private? Right? Six, know your relationships with the audience. And then she mentioned the Viewpoints book, which is what the book is actually called, the Viewpoints book. And that's where kind of she's um, started a lot of her thing. Then we did some speed dating in the circle, and we talked about what do you remember, what stood out to you, and any questions you might have had. Let me pull out my other notebook, see if I wrote anything good. Maybe. Um, oh, the two commandments were good. That stood out. I had a commanding presence. It might be better at the ending. I was trying to think where I would put it. Would this be at the beginning or would this be at the end? Or would I do this at all? Or was I just kind of wanting to communicate to the room my idea? Um, they enjoyed the direct address. Then it was anecdotal, but it felt purposeful, communicating well without it being preachy. It didn't feel like a sermon or like I was condemning or judging. I was speaking as peers, and then I had a good balance. That was the gist of the feedback I got, and then I gave feedback based on what I wrote as well. Um, Commanding presence. Oh, I started writing it there and then I switched. Um, impactful to Oh, it was impactful to a secular audience, which is something I wanted it to be. I don't want it to be a sermon, and I don't want it to be only for Christians. Um, Qualities of composition. Right. Okay. This was something else we wrote down. The qualities of composition from the Viewpoints book. Number one is point of view. Whose story am I telling? Can it can be multiple perspectives, but what is that point of view, and what am I trying to accomplish with that point of view? Number two, architecture. Can you wake up the physical space you're in? Number three, what is the role of the audience? We are best. We as like the class are the best and worst audience. We are best because we're so helpful and supportive, but we don't represent how people will actually be responding to our stuff. So we're not representational of a normal group. Artistic choices to align with your ideas, and how do you want them to think and feel? Four, storytelling techniques, lights up, lights down, right? We can use any techniques, right? Signpost, transition, spin, shake, or you can do you want it to feel like a film, and why and how? Number five, genre. Is it naturalism, stand up, horror, Greek chorus? Is there a shift of genre? A great way to buy into that genre. Um, yeah, and then know the tone. Six, framing devices, your borders and edges. What does it make the audience and characters feel? Number seven, scale, staging and spacing. Big and wide versus intimate. Phone, like the idea of like, do you want a phone to be talking about like it's taking up all our attention, and throughout the show the phone gets bigger, right? Something like that to kind of show scale, and bring focus to it. Eight, light, color, and sound. Black and white, noir, like and red with a specific moment, right? How are you going to use color? Nine, language. Is it spoken? How do you communicate? How do you use language? 10, character. Who is this person? How can I physicalize them? How are they revealed? Through description, action, interruption. 11, this one's huge. Play world. What is the landscape or world of the play? I can create a universe from scratch. I don't have to follow the rules or assume this this world's rules, this real world's rules. I can create clear and consistent rules. Give yourself the freedom to think creatively. And then Brittany's notes to me were shift from reading to speaking. Why? Because I read out the verse and then I spoke directly to the group, and I was thinking, do I want to show the Bible to make sure that people see clearly that this is the Bible? How do I want that to do that shift? And what am I trying to do? What do I want to do with the audience? A stronger point of view. If I have a big empty space, use it as a feeling of being alone, but like whatever I'm doing, whatever's my choice, it needs to be a choice. Our homework is to bring in 3 minutes. Um, we only have two more sessions left at this point, and we had another class on Wednesday. So you can do an edit of the 2 minutes or 3 new minutes. Um, Also, our homework was, what is the question for this piece, and what is it about? Bring my anchor, person or thing that answers that question. Structure, genre. Bada bang, bada boom. And then we moved to transformation with Anna. And this is the last class of the day. Ba-da-dum. We circled up, we imagined a space of creativity and circle, and we opened the door and we stepped in. So we like circled up, and that was our creative space. And then we opened a door and stepped in individually. Then we walked this space, which was this creative space. How did it change and how did it make us feel? We checked it emotionally, physically, mentally. Then we created a box with, she has these little juggling balls that she uses, and we created a box by putting 4 points to the ground. And we're establishing atmospheres. Is that right? Or was that last time? Yeah, last time was atmospheres. This is something else. But it's feeling. It's anyway, I'll get to it. Genre, maybe? Is this a genre? No. Genre is the other thing. See, this is why I gotta do my videos more regularly. Right after I do the class. So I remember everything better. But yeah. So First, within the box was warm clay, and this is earth, and it's molding, and it's centered in your knees and your feet. And so we imagined entering the warm clay, and how does our body move in that, and how is it all interpreted? Like, what does that make us feel if we have this earthy, warm clay? And the word that we attached to it was molding, right? So that's something you can take on your body. If you're earthy, you're molding. Um, and we did that, and then we felt out the space, and we did all these different things within it. It's hard to take notes in that class because it's so physical, but we we walked in the space feeling that we went up and down and interacted, and we picked something up and we sat something down, and then we did water. And water, we started with like water on our feet, and then we splashed each other, and then it slowly got bigger and bigger, and then it went over us, and then we could breathe underwater, and we were seaweed. And how did it feel to be seaweed with our feet anchored, but the rest of us moving, and how did that all affect us? And the center point for water is above the head. Like if you're drunk, it's nice to have your point of your center, like of mass and gravity. Your what's the word? Your center weight. It's just above your head. Like men's center of gravity. Yeah, center of gravity is at our waist, and women's are at their waist, and men's are at their chest and shoulders. Um, So yeah. And then for water, it's flow or float. And then we were that seaweed, and we moved around and experienced that all differently. And then we moved to air, and we imagined ourselves being a little leaf, and we were moving. And the thing about this is, this will be air, is that it's sporadic changes, right? It's like a bird in the air. It's not like a big bird that flies, but a little bird that changes directions a lot. And so that's fly, and it's sporadic. And that's in the collarbones, the center and kind of math and energy is from the collarbones. Then there is light or fire, and that's radiate. And that's from the chest. And we imagined the whole room was pitch black. And when we stepped into the space, our fingers started to itch. And then light burst from it, and then all our fingers, and then our other hand, and light burst from our head, and then from our chests. And then we were a being of light. And so instead of thinking about fire, which a lot of the time we think of as very destructive, it's just light, and we're radiating. So to repeat that, earth is molding, and it's centered in your knees and your feet, sunk. Water is flowing or floating, and that's above the head. Air is flying, but it's sporadic. It's the collarbones, right? Fire or light is radiating, and it's from the chest. Okay. Then we talked to the people afterwards, and in between all these, and we talked about to some people like what we felt, what we experienced. We were sharing our ideas and our experiences. We repeated 4 movements. So what I did is, there's this in the studio we were in, there's a plaque of what the studio is called. I can't even remember what it is now. Not Kleinworth, but there's an I in it. It was Roshan Studio. Anyway, there's a little I, and there's a dot on the I, and it's just like a metal, it's not engraved, it's just like metal block letters that are stuck on the thing. So I poked the dot of the I, and then I turned around and I squat down, and then I lay down, and then I got up, and then I repeated it. And then we did one at double speed. So I squatted down double speed, and then we repeated one. So then I added laying down twice, and then I got up. Then we had a little 7-minute break, and we did that with all of the different elements to feel how that changed us. Um, then we had a little 7 minute break, and then we did some script work with another group. Um, and so we divided the room into 4 quadrants. Um, and if that way is the window, and behind me is the wall, and the doors over there, and the other walls over here. Then this side was 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 3, 4. And so 1 was molding, 2 was radiating, 3 was floating, 4 was flying. And we moved in its space, and we saw how it affected our bodies as we tried to embody this. And then we picked a line at the beginning and the end of the story. And as we crossed into the space, we um, we said the first line, we transitioned, and we said the last line. And then we moved as pairs through the space. First, we got with our pairs and standing at opposite sides. We said each of our line, we passed each other, maintaining eye contact. Well, like maintaining looking at each other. And then we said our last lines. So we started on opposite ends, and then we ended it on opposite ones. And then we did as a group together. We start on one side and then the other, saying the first line in the first quadrant and then the second line in the second quadrant. And it was like not even a whole line, it was like a word or a phrase. Yeah, and then we got into our pairs, and we passed the ball while we read with the other group that was with us, and we marked changes in element, which is what this was. This was elements. Mold, radiate, float, fly, and then face to face with the partner, reading and marking again. So like while we were passing it, they were reading it, our parts, and we would say float, radiate, fly, you know. And then we read it face to face and marked it individually if we felt anything differently. Then we came together in a circle and we discussed it. And our homework is to get together with our partners and notice any similarities and opposites in what we did. And then we will be looking at chunking or uniting afterwards. So yeah, then that was all for day 1 of week 3. Ba-ba-da-ba. Now, continuing with the Lambda log, week 3, day 2, Tuesday, the 27th of January, 2026, we had a warm up, and since last week, I missed 2 warm-ups worth. Did I miss both warm-ups? I think I did miss both because I wasn't feeling well. Oh no. Um, and so yeah, I had those, and so I wasn't gonna miss them this time. And I was also called in today. I know, incredible. I was called in at the beginning to work on our little lovely virgin dance. And let me see if I can remember it. I haven't practiced it I since I did it, but it is to it is to Rihanna's. Okay, that's fine. S&M. Wait, no. Let me see if I okay, I don't it's edited a little bit, so I can't just do the music, but I'll do the basic steps. Um, so the thing is, we're like the strippers who come to the dance. And so we're leaning into the femininity of it, and we're maiden virgins. And so we walk in at different times, walk in, bah, bah, and then we pose together, me and this other guy. It's 4 guys. And then we turn out. Um, I may be good, but perfectly mad at got dead in the air. And then we grab air, and then we're da, 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 da. Oh, my hamstrings. Gotta stretch. Change now and excite me. Ba-da-ba-da. That's the gist of it. So just, there's one part where we go, after we step out, we go. That's the idea, more or less. So that was fun to learn. And two of the students choreographed it, which was fun too. And then, yeah, it was nice to be in the room and like realize who's in my group. Um, yeah, it was great. Um, yeah, we practiced it a few times and then I stayed for a little longer to watch and it was awesome. And then afterwards, I went to the library to do some work and I did all my work. Proud, proud boy. All the work that I had to do. One of the things I looked at were all of the lexical sets or buckets that we were talking about last week. And there's 28 of them, and I want to read them all. So there's kit, dress, trap, lot, strut, foot, bath, cloth, nurse, fleece, face, palm, thought, goat, goal, goose, price, choice, mouth, near, square, start, north, force, cure, cure. I don't know what I say there. Happy, happy. The Y part of happy. Letter, of letter, and then comma, in comma. And that's all 28. And that's great. And there it is. That was all I had for Tuesday, which is why I mind it to this day. Anyway, video numero uno. Hope you enjoyed. And I will be doing uploading the rest of them soon. I actually have stuff for Thursday because I worked on Thursday. Mm-mm. Yeah, I did. Oh, we also had a workshop. Yeah, good stuff. Anyway, love you lots. Hope you have a great day, lifetime. Oh, I didn't say all that stuff. Oh well.